Okay, let's start. So very quickly, is my screen visible?
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
is my screen visible? So I'm going to talk about Google Collab first, right? So what happens is that many of you will install Python in your local environment. Many of you will set up your local environment. But I strongly advise, especially for beginners, what you should do is look at something called Google Colab. As long as you have a Gmail account, you have a Google Colab account as well, right? It's literally just you can just Google Colab, or you can go to collab.research.google.com, right? It provides you with a lot of basic functionalities so that you don't have to set up those basic functionalities, right? So Google Colab is a powerful Jupyter notebook IDE. So you can perform all of the markdown that you would perform in a Google Colab or a Jupyter notebook, right? You can have your ordered list or your unordered list, or you can even use a prompt. So you can also generate some code using Google Colab. Okay. So that is also there, and it will do that for you very simply, right? It generated code for you. So it is basically a free vibe coding tool as well for small functions. It will not do big things, but if you are stuck in an error, or if you have some sort of small function that you want to code, Google Colab is a really good tool. All you need to do is click on the generate button, and it is free of cost. There's no API, there's no billing, there's no cost associated with it, right? So for example, over here I generated random prime numbers, okay, and you can be very sure that this will run, okay. And so you have a very stable Python environment for you built in. Not just that, Collab is a Linux virtual machine as well. So it supports Ubuntu 22.04 by default. And if you want to practice Linux or shell commands, you can do that as well. So all of the commands in Linux, such as ls and pwd, I know this is not something that you might be aware of right now, but this is something to explore further. Okay, right? And it also gives you a free GPU. All you need to do is select runtime, change runtime type, and it will give you a free GPU as well. Okay, and it is 16 gigs of RAM. It is 16 gigs of RAM. Okay, I'll be taking questions at the end of the lecture. I hope that's okay. Specifically general questions. Okay. So my recommendation is, so if somebody has asked, do we need high-end PCs with good GPUs to learn data science, or is Google Colab sufficient? In my opinion, Google Colab is sufficient for 90% of the cases, right? But for 10% of the cases, which will be very rare that you will be stuck on those 10% cases when you are learning, right? Google Colab is an excellent learning tool. Okay, it will give you a free GPU for 16 gigs of RAM of GPU, right? I think we can see, yeah. So 15,360 MB is close to 15 GB GPU RAM. So that's really good for starting, right? You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to spend any money before you start with any data science, right? Then it also sets up a very stable Python environment. So you don't have to install many of the libraries that you will be working in, whether that be base Python, Pandas, NumPy, sklearn, Seaborn, TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch. All of those things are pre-installed. You really don't need to worry about installing these, and you don't need to worry about that your for example, Keras and TensorFlow versions have to match. There's no merge conflict. All of that is not a issue in Google Colab. Also, you can access external data via URLs, via your Google Drive, via Kaggle, via Hugging Face. There are many ways you can access external data, but obviously the simplest is you can just provide a URL and it will still be able to access that data. Okay. Okay. So with that, having said that, please go to Google Colab today itself. Try to play around with it. There's a really good welcome notebook for Google Colab. You can play around with that as well. You can learn Python, you can learn data science, you can learn AI using Google Colab. Okay. Okay. So let's start with quick Python basics. So you start your comments in Python with a simple hash key. Okay. So this is a comment, and these comments are not executed by Python, and they are literally written by you to explain the code to people who are reading this the code. Okay. If one weakness of I'll just turn off the video of Pinkesh. I hope that's okay. It was a bit distracting. He was moving a lot. I'm sorry for that. Anyway, so as I was saying, the disadvantage of hash is that it can only do single line comments. If you have multi-line comments, you have to write 3 double quotes. Okay. Start with 3 double quotes. You can put in then multiple lines of comments, and then you basically have a ending comment. Okay. With 3 double quotes as well. Okay. 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 Then you have your print commands. You can print your output. So there's this concept called Python console. If you want anything to show up on the Python console, you have to run it via print command. Okay, that is how you will get the output. Okay, so for example, if you want to see welcome to the factorial calculator, okay, this is how you will have to write it. Print parenthesis, these are called brackets sometimes, but the official name for these is parenthesis. Okay, this is basically the key above 9 and 0. You press shift 9, shift 0, right? Okay, then a single quote or a double quote, then any string that you would like. Okay, we'll come to this part of the code in a bit, but let's move ahead. Okay. Okay. We'll come back to this factorial tutorial at the end of the lecture. Okay. So let's talk about data types. We know how to print out things. We know what are comments. We know what are multi-line comments. Let's talk about data types. What are data types? Anybody?
int, num, float, boolean.
Yeah.
double, char,
So your data, whatever data that might be, has some properties, right? And one of those property is the type of data. For example, an integer data can be -20, -10, -5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 25, 2 million. As long as it is a whole number, the property of the type data is integer, right? Similarly, there's something called floating point numbers or float. They are simply sometimes called float numbers or just float. Okay, these are all your decimal numbers, and again, they need not be, these special floating point numbers. They can be just as simple as, x is equal to 1.2. So we are going to talk about variables in a bit, but yeah, do we understand what is the data type in of float? Right, it's just decimal numbers. Okay, then we have strings. Okay, strings are anything, any character, any digit, any special character, exclamation point, asterisk, percentage, dollar, at the rate, all of that can belong in string. And in Python, you can define a string with either a double quote or a single quote, right? Okay, any question? Okay, there are a lot of questions in the, what kind of things is that? Okay. Okay. So yeah, We know what is a integer, what is a float, and what is the string. These are the three most common data types that you will see. Another is Boolean. So Boolean can only have one value, sorry, two values. It can either be true or false. Okay. What does that mean? That something can be either be on or off. It is true or false. It cannot be either something in between, right? That is why it is called Boolean. The B stands for literally binary, right? Okay. Then you have lists. A list is nothing but a collection of data. Okay. And it can be any kind of data. Any kind means any kind, whether that be string, whether that be numbers, whether that, sorry, integers, whether that be floating point numbers, whether that be Boolean types. There is a data type called list that we will talk about. It can even contain other list within it. A list is nothing but a collection of data. And as you can think, this can be any kind of data. A list is defined by square brackets. Okay, so everything within those square brackets is a element. It is called as a data element. Each data element is separated by a comma. It is good practice to add a space after the comma. It is good practice, not necessary, but just good practice. Okay. And the list contains any kind of data, whether that be string, whether that be integer, whether that be floating point, whether that be Boolean, or even other lists as well. Okay. Okay. Then there is tuple. Again, a tuple is defined by, it has very similar rules for creation. One major difference is when you're creating a tuple is that instead of square brackets, it is parenthesis. Okay. Or, plain old brackets. We call them brackets sometimes, but the official term is parenthesis. Okay. And it can again contain any kind of data. But if it can contain any kind of data, what is the difference between a list and a tuple?
So it's mutability and immutability.
Yes. Okay. So for those who don't know, that's the correct answer. But what does mutability and immutability mean? So, for example,
सर आप चेंज हो सकता है
yeah, let me explain as well. Okay. So, for example, in a list, you can modify a list. Okay. You can replace this cherry with an orange, no problems. Python is not going to stop you. But if you try to change this apple, okay, if you try to change this apple with, let's say, orange, then Python is going to throw an error at you. Tuples cannot be modified. The elements can be added to it, okay, but they will only be occurring after the apple. But you cannot modify apple once you have defined the apple element in the tuple. Same goes for 3 and 5. You cannot modify 3 and 5. Once it has been set as 3, it will always remain as 3. Right? Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then there is a data type called dictionary. Okay. In this, what will happen is that it contains a key value pair. So how is it? How is a dictionary initialized? Well, you have your key. The key is a string, and the value can be anything. It can be of string data type. It can be of integer, float, again Boolean, or it can be even a list data type. Okay, and separating the key and the value is the colon. Okay, again, it is a good practice to add a space, but it would be okay if you don't add the space. But again, it increases the readability of the code. Okay, now let's say you have this dictionary which contains name, okay, age, city, and then again name, and then another key called another, then another key called multiple. Okay, so if you notice, there are 3 values called Bob. Is that an accepted behavior? Can that be, is that okay?
Yes.
Yes. Values can repeat themselves, but keys cannot. Okay. So, for example, if name is Bob in this particular cell, in this particular element, and then reset the name to Sampoon, what will happen is that the name key, the key, again, remember, key has to be unique. It cannot, you cannot have multiple you cannot have one dictionary containing same keys in multiple places. What will happen is that the last value of the key will be replaced. Okay. So for example, Bob will be replaced by Sampoon. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. Okay. So another thing is that you need to be aware of is something called set. Sometimes you need such a data type or a data structure where things cannot be repeated. Can somebody give me an example of such a data set?
Student roll number.
Roll number. Okay, bank account number. Yes, all of the identifying kind of things, right? If you are creating this in Python, you have to create it in such a way that it is always unique. So a set is is a list. You can think of it as a list. Okay, but the elements are always unique. It is not mutable in the sense that, sorry, it is mutable in the sense that you can replace a value, but you cannot replace, let's say 2 with maybe 5. That's not okay. The set will auto correct itself. Okay. And it will start looking something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So if we publish the set as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we add 1, 2, 3 again. Okay. Then these 1, 2, 3 will literally be ignored. Okay. And they will be literally be merged with these 1, 2, 3. Then you will have another, over here I've put in another 1. Will this be merged with the 1 or not?
No, it will not be merged
Not
as it is a
because it
string.
is a string.
Yes, the since the data type is different, the data is different, even though the content of the data might be the same. Right? So again, remember, every data has multiple attributes. The value of the data is one attribute. The type of data is another attribute. If a data is same, that means that all attributes of the data are same. Since the type of 1 over here and the type of 1 over here are different, the data is not same, and it will look something like this. Let me just zoom a little. Okay, it will look something like this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a string 1. Okay. Okay. Then you have the none data type. We saw this earlier, but yeah, what the none data type basically represents is that it represents nothingness. It's a special data type to represent nothingness, and that is what is used in Python to represent nothingness. Again, I'll repeat myself. The none data type, earlier it used to be called null data type. If you are coming from another language, you might have heard of null data type, right? And yeah, so nowadays it is called none. Okay. Remember, for all data types such as Boolean or none data type, the first character is capital. Okay. So for example, if I do, instead of true, I do false. Okay. The F is capital. And if I do true, the T is capital. Same goes for none. The N is capital. Okay. Okay. Then we are going to learn about F strings as well, but I'm just going to talk about it later. But you can also look at this article from Geeks for Geeks. Okay. So the type function is what, any guesses what the type function will do?
डेटा टाइप
It will return
बताएगा
the
इसका.
type of
It
the
will get the
data.
attribute
The type
type
of the
of
object.
data. It will get the type of data, right? The data type, sometimes that is called. So we know that the age attribute, sorry, the age data, the type is
Integer.
integer,
Int.
right?
Integer.
And then the type for pi is float. The type for name was string.
String.
Name 2 is also string. Then is valid is Boolean. Then we know that fruits is a
List.
list, right? Point is a tuple, person is
Tuple.
a dictionary, unique numbers is a set, result is a none type. Okay, so this is what you will see. There's a special way of writing out the data type. Okay, it's also sometimes called the class of data. So if you look at it, it is int represents integer, float represents floating point number, str represents string, bool represents boolean, and list represents list, tuple represents tuple, dict represents dictionary, set represents set, and none type represents none. Okay, that was a very quick intro to data structures in Python. Okay, all of the data types in Python. Okay, there's a lot of context that can be added, but you that is the initial learning for you. Okay, now I just wanted to add, and we'll talk about functions in a bit, but yeah, you can, again, I would repeat myself, you can add anything in a list. You can add a Python class in a list. You can add a Python function in a list. You can add a function that you created in a list. That's still acceptable. So you can add a function called mean. You can add a function called square root. You can add a function that you created. Okay. You can add integers, floating points, string, and then Boolean. So that makes list one of the most dangerous data types, because it literally can accept anything. It is way too flexible for any sort of programming. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
it is, whenever you get the opportunity, try to remove list from your code. Instead, rely on tuples. Okay. Okay. Now that we know what are the data types, let's talk about typecasting. What is typecasting?
Changing data type to another data type.
Converting the data type to another data type.
Data
One data
type
type is
from one to another.
Yes. So, for example, if you have a string int, sorry, 1, then you can just pass in the int function, pass this string into the int function. Okay. Similarly, this will just give you an output of 1. Similarly, if you have a floating point number, okay, which is basically 1.8, and if you pass it to int, it will not be rounded up. Okay, it will just be the everything after the decimal will be removed. So if even if it is 1.9999999, you will still get 1. You are not rounding up, you are getting the integer part of the floating point. Okay, is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's say if you have a string which is actually a floating point number, what you will have to do is first convert that string into a float and then convert it into an int. Okay, direct conversion of int 1.8 as a string will not work, because there are not multiple layers within a typecasting function. It does not have the intelligence that, okay, I need to call this particular function. That is not built in. That is something that you will have to still code. Okay. And again, I would strongly urge you guys that whenever you guys are working in Collab, the generate capability is there for you to help. Okay. Okay. Uh, str is the most dangerous typecasting. Okay. You can convert anything into a string, whether that be a Boolean type, whether that be an integer type, anything you can convert into a string. For example, over here, I'm converting a none data type to a string. Okay. Okay. So I have some code over here. I'll show that in a bit, but yeah. What is Boolean of 1? Any guesses? It's there, right? What would be, let's say,
True.
Boolean of 0?
False.
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 Right? So again, remember, Boolean only has two values, true or false, right? So what would be the Boolean of 12?
True.
Then what would be the Boolean of negative 12?
False. True.
False.
True.
False or true?
True.
True. Why is that?
Any non-zero is considered true.
But why is that?
Boolean of any non-zero is
So Boolean of any
false.
non-zero is considered true. You're absolutely right. But why is that?
Yeah.
See, 12 is not true. Definitely. Who's speaking? I'll just mute him. Tapan, I hope that's okay. Okay. Yeah. 12 is not definitely true, but the Boolean of 12 is true, right? Okay. But why is the Boolean of 12 true? Well, to be honest, the Boolean of 12, what would be this? What would be the output of this? True or false? What would be the output of this? Boolean
True.
of 0
False.
as a string.
Zero is false.
True.
सर
True.
ये थोड़ा ढंग से समझा दो ये वाला पार्ट.
Yeah, I'm coming there.
True.
Yeah. So why is that? The main reason for that is the
Plus
Boolean
zero is a string, and here it will consider its Asai value, which is non-zero. That's why it is coming
yes,
true.
yes.
The string is not empty.
So let me try to explain that. The answer was correct, but let me just put it in better words. Okay. So what happens is for everything other than the integer 0, your Boolean function will always give true. Internally, inside the Boolean function of inside the Boolean typecasting function, what it does is, sorry, it checks whether the Boolean is what is the Ascii value of the input. Okay. What is the Ascii value? What is an Ascii value? If you don't know what an Ascii value is, I strongly recommend going through the Wikipedia page. This basically represents every value in your keyboard. Okay. So everything is converted into the Ascii value. And there is literally a rule that if the integer 0 for the Ascii value of integer 0, send false, otherwise send true. Okay. So for example, if I try to do the Ascii value of dot, if I send in dot, that will also come out to be true, because we are getting the Ascii value of this particular input. Okay. So everything other than 0 is set to true by default. Everything is converted into numbers. We check if the number is of a particular value, right? Then we get false. What is the Ascii value of 0? 48. Okay. Okay. So this is the reason why everything is true. Okay. So I just wanted to go on a tangent, and this is probably all of the typecasting that you will probably need. What I have taught is not just typecasting, but the quirks and the places where you can fail in typecasting. Okay. So remember, this will not work. Remember that it takes in the Boolean function, takes in the Asai value. Okay. And just wanted to, yeah, that's it. So just wanted to show you one thing, that you can do arithmetic with Boolean numbers. Sorry, Boolean values. So what was true,
1.
right? So you can do a basic arithmetic with true and true, right? But you should never be doing arithmetic with Boolean data types, is because you actually don't know if this is, if I do Boolean of 1 and Boolean of 20, right? Okay. What is 20 plus 1?
21.
So what should be the
21.
output of this? It will still be true, 2, right? Because it is converting it into 2 and 2. Oh, sorry, 1 and 1. Okay. So this is being rendered as true plus true. Okay. Which is being rendered as 1, or typecasted, not rendered. Rendered is the wrong word to use over here, and 1. No matter the input value. So again, this is a place where many people have, this is where many people find bugs in the code. Okay, this is the kind of bug that many people look into. Okay. Another thing is that although you can do arithmetic operations with integers, numbers, and you can also do arithmetic operations with strings. What happens if I do a plus b as a string?
AB will be the output.
It will concatenate. Okay. The A and B will concatenate. But one thing you need to be aware of, that you cannot do it with none type. You can obviously integer and floating point addition, subtraction, all of those things can function, right? For Boolean, you will always get either 1 or 0. Okay. For string, concatenation happens. But when you add two none data types, it will create an error. Okay. Okay. Shall I move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let's just look at uh, the try except finally. Okay. Catching errors in Python. How is it done? Okay. Or exception handling, as it is called more formally. Okay. Okay. So you put in the code that you want to evaluate whether there is going to be an error happening or not. Okay. Then if there is an error, you can print the error. Okay. Or you can have specific kinds of error. For example, you can do, this was a type error. What is a type error?
सर
See that there is some issue.
एक्सेप्शन में डाल देंगे.
Yeah. So there is some issue with the operation you are doing with the data type. That is called a type error. Okay. And if you have to catch that, this is called catching. Okay. So you write except. Okay. Then you do type error, the kind of error that you want to catch, as E. So you don't really need this is optional. But if you want to print out the error message, you can, you have to do this alias. This is called aliasing. Okay. You have to print out the error message. You have to do this. Okay. And catch, if you want to catch any kind of error, this is the topmost class. Okay. And I would urge you to look into the exception class in Python. Okay. And look at what are the kinds of exceptions. Okay. So for example, base exception. Okay. Arithmetic error, buffer error, lookup error, assertion error. These are the kind of exceptions right, that you will have to write in your except. Okay. And maybe there is some reason that type error has to be handled differently or arithmetic error has to be handled differently. There are various reasons of various use cases in each of these exceptions, and this is something that you will have to build in your professional career. Okay. Now, again, here's where Collab helps us. You can put in a decent prompt to put in what is the kind of exceptions that you are expecting. Okay. And then finally you have this finally clause. Okay. These are called clauses, the try, except, and finally clause. Okay. This will always run. Even if your code prints out no error. So if I do 2 divided by 2 and it prints out no error, it will always run. Okay. This is the code that you want to run no matter what. Okay. This is called exception handling in Python, and it allows us to do something called as a graceful exit. Okay. Okay. Any questions?
Okay, sir.
So this is a slightly more advanced code, but you can look at it when I share this notebook. Okay. Then there are some control flow and logical operators. Okay. So let's just go through this. Okay. So for example, if x is equal to 3, right? And you have to check a condition. Is x greater than 5? Yes or no?
No.
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 So if x is not
No.
greater than 5, note the syntax of this, right? You have to type in if, then you have to type in space. If you have multiple conditions, then you have to use a parenthesis. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't have multiple conditions, you can just use nothing. Then you can put in your condition. Okay. One thing of note is that this is, so x is 3. This will give you a Boolean value. So if I just print x is greater than 5, it will give me true or false,
False.
right? And the type is Boolean. So that is why we are able to put it in if else. Okay. Now, coming back to the syntax, after you have put in your if command, you have to put in a colon, right? Then what will happen is that Python will add a basically Python will add a separator or a tab. Okay, some indentation around your code. Okay. Okay. Now, if this was true, then this statement is printed out. Okay. If else is true, then this statement is printed out. So if I just look at this particular code snippet, what is going to be printed out?
X is not greater than 5.
Else.
Yes, correct.
Else.
Absolutely correct. X is not greater than 5 is going to be printed out, which is what happens. Okay. Then we also have something called as the elif command. Okay. So let's take another variable. Y is equal to 5. Is y greater than 5?
No.
No,
It's
y
equals to
5
5.
is not greater than 5. It is equal to 5, but it is not greater than 5, right? Then you put in the elif command. Okay. What does elif, any guesses what is the full form of elif?
Else.
Else if. It's a shorthand for else
Else if.
if.
Yes.
Nested if. We
Yeah.
can also say it
So
is nested.
why do we do elif? Why not something like else and then if and then something y is equal to 5 and then print something? Why do not this?
Sir, in elif, first we will check the condition of else statement, and if it is true, then we will check another condition in the elif statement.
So what happens is if any of these conditions is true, for example, the second condition over here is true. Okay. Will we check the third condition? Will we check the fourth condition? Will we check the fifth and final condition? No.
No.
This will save a lot of compute time, right? So, but if you do that old way, else and then you put if and then else and then nested if else's, those are called nested if else's. Okay. If you do that, each and every condition will be tested. Okay, which may, depending on your the size of your if else commands, it will test for it will take me it may take more time. Okay, so over here we know that 5 is equal to 5 or 5 is equal to 5. So this is how you check for equality. Single equal to means assignment and double equal to means checking for equality. Okay, and you just what will be printed out? Y is equal to 5. Okay, so this is what is printed out. Okay. Okay. Now let's look at something called as logical operators. We know that all this is a Boolean data type, right? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So if I do 5, y is equal to 5, it's still a Boolean data type, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's just do y is equal to 5, right? But it's just true now rather than being false. Okay. What if I want to have multiple conditions? Okay. I want to check for multiple conditions. Will I have to do nested ifs? No. This is where logical operators come into play. What you can do is write and or, okay, and it will spit out these kinds of. So basically, this is the Boolean arithmetic that you should be doing, not the true plus true, right? Or true minus true. That sort of arithmetic you should not be doing. What you should be doing is this sort of arithmetic. True and true will be true. False and true will be false and true will be
False.
true
False.
and false will be
False.
and false and false will be
While
false.
using
False.
AND operator, both the values should be true. If any
Yes.
one is false, then the result will be false.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. So this statement is this
False.
statement changes. The statement that I don't know who made, but yeah, this statement changes a bit. If any of these is true, then any is true. Okay, then it is true. Otherwise, if both are false, then it is false. Oh, sorry, this needs to be or. Okay. Okay. What happens if I do something like this? Will this work?
Yes, it will be true.
True.
Yeah,
True.
it will work. You can have as many true, Boolean operations, Boolean values, or you can put in as many Boolean data types as many you want, right? So this is how you check for multiple conditions. For example, A is 7 and B is 12. You can write, is A greater than 5? Yes. Is B greater than 10? Yes. Are both true? You have to just put in
Yes.
and. Okay. So you can just see that both A and B are greater than 5. So I should have written this. Yeah. Okay. So both A and B are greater than 5.
Can
Okay.
you add multiple and or in
Yes.
a single
So
statement?
and B is greater than 10. It will still work. But the print statement is no longer true, but it still works, right? Yeah.
Can you add multiple and or in the same statement?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
how does the logic
So,
work there?
so then what happens is this is the way it will be evaluated.
Okay, okay. The first and second will be
Yeah, so the and is evaluated first and then the or condition. But I always recommend people to add parenthesis if you have too many conditions for readability, right? When you write your code, you should always write in such a way that it becomes readable to other people as well. Okay. Okay. Then you have C is greater than 5. Well, no. D is greater than 10. Well, no. So nothing is printed. Let's do D is greater than 7. Yeah, at least C and D is greater than 5 or 10. It should be or D, not and. Yeah. Okay. Then there is something called as the not operator. Not operator literally reverses your Boolean value. So if E is E less than 0? Is E less than 0?
No, sir.
No. So this should not print out anything, right? Or will it?
It will print.
Okay. Okay. So since we have added, this will be the Boolean value for this will be false. But once you add not in front of this, so if you do, let me just add this. And you just need to do not. So not true is false and not false is true. So over here, this we are seeing the case of not false. So this becomes true and this will be printed out. Okay. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So is there here? Yeah. So what you just a second. Yeah. So what we'll do is just go through this loops and then I'll put in open questions. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at this list. This is a list of fruits: apple, banana, cherry. What you can do and what is most common in Python is that you can basically do something called as a for each loop. For each fruit in fruits, print fruit. So with the in command or with the in keyword, you can basically iterate through a loop through a list without doing all of the heavy work of writing down the loop commands, right? So this is not needed. You can just do for fruit in fruits, print the fruit, and it will print something like this: apple, banana, cherry. Okay. In case you want to have the index of the list as well, right? What is the position in which every fruit exists? You can use the enumerate function as well. Enumerate takes in a list, okay? And what it does is it returns the list element and the position of the list element. So for example, the position of apple is 1, or is it 1?
0.
0.
0.
It will
It
be
is
0.
0 because in Python
It will
counting
be
starts
0.
from 0. So this will be the 0th position, this will be the first position, and this will be the second position. Cherry will be the second position. And now because the enumerate function is returning two items, one is the position. Okay, you can say index instead of position, instead of just I, and the list element or the list element within that on that position. Okay, so you have to have basically this sort of syntax to indicate that yes, you are going to take two things. Okay, the index and the fruit. Okay, any doubt here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
old style loops also
No, sir.
but again, I don't want to show them because they are almost never used in Python. If you still have to use some sort of older style, use this. use something called the range function. Okay, don't ever try to write a loop as you might have written in Java or JavaScript, right? The range function lets you know where you start your loop, okay, and where you end it -1. So this is basically inclusive start, and exclusive end. So what would be the length of fruits?
It's 3.
It's 3, right? So the loop will run from 0 to 3 minus 1. So end -1. Okay. So it will run from 0 to 2. So fruits, 0th position fruit is printed out. You can access any index element or any element using the index of a list. Okay. Then banana will be printed, then cherry will be printed. Okay. But this is the last, last resort kind of a loop that you should be writing. Ideally, you should be writing this sort of loop, or if you require the index, then you should be using enumerate. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then this is the while loop. It's quite similar to all of the other languages that you have seen. The initialization happens outside the while loop. Then you have to just specify the condition till when the loop has to run. Then you have to just print out anything that you want, and then you have the increment happens within the while loop. Okay, is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have a few more minutes left. Instead of teaching the code, what do you think I pick up questions that you guys might have? Or should I continue with the code? Can I share this collab link? Yes, I can share the collab link. Okay, so this contains all of the code, even things that will the class recording be available? It will be available on YouTube. Okay. 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 So any questions that anybody would like to ask regarding their career or anything? You can just type it in. Doubts in Boolean 0. What is the doubt in Boolean of 0? Paras? Do we need
Sir,
to
why
master
always
Python for
0?
data science? Yes. What exactly is the work of a data scientist? So it depends on the organization that you are joining, but the data scientist has to first understand the data. He has to first, there's so many questions. He has to then basically create or train a model on that data and then present the results and help with the deployment of that model. Okay. Okay. How can we integrate AI with web development? Well, you can use some sort of vibe coding tool, or there are paid tools such as GitHub Copilot that can be integrated in your VS Code as an extension. Otherwise, you will have to do some sort of effort into for using open source tools such as Code and Klein. Okay, what are the topics we need to strengthen in Python for replacement? Well, you need to learn about oops in Python. You need to learn about classes specifically. You need to learn about APIs in Python, and you need to learn about basics of Python. Okay. If you want to absolutely make yourself an expert, then you should talk about threads or multi-threading in Python. Okay. As ML and data science night, GPU, should we get a GPU laptop? You really don't need to buy a GPU laptop like I showed. You get 15 gigs of GPU RAM in Google Colab. This will also ensure that your code is saved, right? And your environment is absolutely pristine. So for every new Colab notebook, there is a new environment. For every new Collab notebook, you have your code being saved as well. Okay. Okay. How can you? Okay, we have this. When will be the next class? I will have to decide that. Okay. Okay. What would be the lessons taught for here? Would the lessons taught here be also useful for? Yes, for AI development? You have to know about Python. You have to know about APIs. You have to understand at least basics of prompt engineering as well. Okay. Why always zero is false? So there's a if condition Paris that there within the Boolean function, if I urge you to go through the source code of the Boolean typecasting function, there's literally an if else condition. If the value of the ASCII value of the input is 48, then it is zero false. Otherwise, it is true. Uh, can you tell how to create two constructor and send data through them from main, not in this particular class? Does AI have any effect on data science analyst job? Yes. If you are not using AI in your job, then you will be losing your job fairly quickly. I keep saying, this is a quote that I stole from the founder of NVIDIA. I forget his name, but yeah, I keep saying that your job is not in danger because of AI, but it will be in danger because of people who are using AI. Okay. Okay. Uh, Sir, can you give us resources that we can consume till next Sunday? So, Daksh, the resources are in the Python course. Okay. If you follow that, this you will not be needing this 1 hour session as well, right? I cannot teach the entirety of Python in 1 hour. You have to do self-study. You have to do practice. Okay.
सर एक्चुअली मेरा ना नेक्स्ट वीक एसडी इंटर्न का वो है ऑनलाइन असेसमेंट amazon का। तो आप उसके रिगार्डिंग कोई रिसोर्स या इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक्स बता सकते हो?
वेल, मतलब उसमें तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं। मतलब आपको फिर डीएसए भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा। आई डोंट नो अभी आपने कितना पढ़ रखा है शान।
हाँ, पाइथन डीएसए मैंने चालू करा था, टाइम एंड स्पेस एंड कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी वगैरह देखा था मैं।
So my recommendation to you is not to, if you don't have the time, my recommendation to you is try to just search for questions that have been already asked. एक हफ्ते में आप सारे टॉपिक्स नहीं समझ पाओगे। ठीक है। Just figure out what questions have been asked till now. Use Google, okay, for SD Amazon, okay, and then try to get their solutions and understand those solutions, because the questions might be different, but the approaches will be similar. Okay.
या ओके, थैंक यू सर।
Okay. Um, for all freshers, do company give opportunity as data science? Yes, obviously. Uh, DSA in Python, that's, I don't know what is the question. Should I be worried about Google's data science agent? No. Okay, there are a lot of questions around the courses. What I would recommend, okay, so what I would recommend is that you go through the entirety of the AI tools, Python course, right? That is the best resource for you right now. Nothing else. Okay. How many months will it take to complete machine learning? It depends on how you define machine learning. Are you just talking about traditional machine learning? Are you adding deep learning and generative AI and agentic AI into this? Are you adding statistical inference to this? But yeah, in my opinion, the entirety of data science can be learned in roughly 8 to 10 months. Okay. My name is
So,
Sampurn Ratan.
so this course is for 8 to 10 months.
No, no. This is weekly, right? We are not, we will be giving you what is most required. Okay. But
Okay,
if you
okay.
have to learn it in absolute detail, then you have to give yourself and not just yourself, data science and yourself 8 months. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Should I also learn JS and web dev so I can build my ML apps? No, there are many, many Python tools such as Streamlit, Gradio, Chainlit, all of those that can be used to, you don't have to create UI on your own. They create the UI for you. Okay. Okay.
Sir, how
Do
do I
you
get started
think
with
data science
GfG?
career will be taken by AI? No. It will be taken by somebody who's using AI to do their job, who is increasing their productivity by 3x every year. Okay.
सर
How do I
एमएल
start with
वगैरह में
DSA?
Yeah, I shared the collab material as well. I'm just sharing the collab link again. Yeah. Yeah. Last questions.
सर मैं पूछ रहा था कि एमएल में मैथमेटिकल ज्यादा है एनालिटिक्स से ज्यादा मतलब
Yeah.
मतलब क्योंकि मेरे ख्याल से उसमें दिक्कत हो सकती है मतलब अंडरस्टैंडिंग में
For if you need to learn data science, you need to learn some maths. There's no other way. There's no way around it.
हाँ
So
हाँ हाँ
like max in the sense statistics regression that
Yeah. Yeah.
so we need to go in the deep or else intermediate level is enough.
That depends on the role that you're targeting. Are you targeting just like a AI developer who just uses paid AI APIs to integrate into solutions? Or are you talking about research data scientist? That depends on the role that you're targeting.
Sir, if we are targeting data science only, so how
बट
much
again
max
ना
will be
डेटा
there?
साइंस में भी तो बहुत सारे हैं ना,
जी
वही आपको रोल भी तो समझने पड़ेंगे क्या क्या है. उसका भी एक
okay sir.
वीडियो इट विल बी रिलीज नेक्स्ट वीक अराउंड, सो दैट मे हेल्प फॉर यू. ओके.
So thank you.
ओके.
Sir,
हाँ.
sir, actually, I have learned Python and some of its libraries like NumPy, Python, Matplotlib, and so on. So I'm stuck now where to go and where to take myself
Learn
further in
pandas,
ML.
learn sklearn, and then don't learn TensorFlow or Keras. Learn something called
PyTorch.
PyTorch. Yeah.
और सर स्काईगेट लर्न में सर कितना सीखूं सर उसमें भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं
Do 50 small projects.
50
Yeah, 50. One project should not last more than 2 to 3 hours.
ओके
What do you mean by small projects, sir? How does
I
we?
use something called toy data sets. There's a data sets subset, a library within sklearn. You can use that.
Okay.
Okay.
और सर बुक में कौन सी बुक सर वो हैंड्स ऑन साइकिट सॉरी हैंड्स ऑन मशीन लर्निंग वाली
हाँ, वो ले सकते हैं. और मतलब बुक्स में तो यार देखो, बुक्स में काफी डिटेल होती है, तो वो सारी ही बुक्स अच्छी मानता हूँ मैं तो. इट वुड बी हार्ड टू पिक अ बैड बुक. ओके.
श्योर
अगर अगर आपको एक अच्छी लग रही है या जो आपको पॉपुलर लग रही है, दैट मीन्स दैट काफी और लोगों को भी अच्छी लगी, राइट? The advantage of doing a book versus maybe a video recording or a session is that a book can be self-paced and it has a lot of detail, right? There's no like time limitation for a book.
यस
How to start a real world project on data science? Look into something called kaggle.com. Okay. Okay.
How much
Which is the
stats and maths?
which site is best for learning data science according to you? YouTube.com. Okay.
Sir,
Yes,
How much
recording will
stats
be
and
posted.
maths I should learn for ML engineering?
Yeah, you have to learn something called matrix factorization. You have to learn basics of linear algebra. You have to learn basic differential calculus. Okay, you cannot avoid that.
so
And
what are
it's
the
okay.
topics
We learned this in maybe 9th, 10th, 11th year as Indians. So you don't need to worry about it. Okay.
so what are the topics we need to strong to get the IT placement, sir, for freshers?
Sorry.
So what are the topics we need to strong to get the placement as a freshers?
See, the disadvantage of data science is that it's massive, right? It depends again on the role. If you are doing something called ML ops, there's a lot of you're becoming an ML ops engineer. There's a lot of things that are outside the scope of data science. We'll have to learn something called Docker, Kubernetes, right? But if you're just becoming a Python developer, then Python in itself is such a massive topic. If you're becoming a GenAI engineer, then you just need to learn Python and how to integrate, all of these paid APIs. If you're becoming a machine learning engineer, then just machine learning and deep learning would do. If you're becoming a research data scientist, then you need to understand each and every model's maths, right? So I don't have a one single answer because it depends on you, right? Okay. Okay, I have answered as many questions as I can. I have another session today. So I'll be closing the session today. Thank you. We'll have another session. You can ask more questions then. Okay. Thank you. I hope today's session was good and especially the answers. I hope you guys go through the notebook. Please go and try and run that notebook on your own. Use Google Collab. Go through the welcome Collab link. Okay, please. Okay, that will be the most supportive thing that you do for your career. Don't buy laptops until and unless you get into a job. Okay, use Google Collab. That is the best free resource. Okay. Google Collab is the best ID. Okay. Thank you. I'll be closing.